I am Jim Collison and live from the Gallup campus here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Strength Spotlight on strengths-based podcasting with Lisa Cummings, recorded on February 9th, 2016. Strength Spotlights are live interviews that Gallup conducts with individuals, teams, or organizations who are using the Clifton Strengths Finder and its 34 themes to impact their community and organizations around the world. If you have questions, please email them to us. We'd love it when you send us emails. That's always a good day. Coaching@gallup.com. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center. This is just Gallup Strengths Center for all your Strengths Finder resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening to all our Gallup Webcast. Everything you need to do to get subscribed to those is at the coach's blog, coaching.gallup.com. Lisa Cummings is our guest today. Lisa is a professional speaker, trainer, and StrengthsFinder coach. She at Lead Through Strengths. She also has a podcast by the same name, and the reason she is on today is because we're going to talk about that podcast. Lisa, welcome to Strength Spotlight.
Thanks, Jim. Happy to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you are. You're second in the series as we're talking about it, encouraging coaches if they're thinking about starting a podcast, and one of the reasons why I'm including this in the Call to Coach channel is because many of our coaches listen to that, and I think some of them have maybe in the back of their mind at some point in time have said, I wonder how this podcast stuff works and how I can, how I could start one. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about you first, though. Give us a little bit more on you, who you are, what you do, what brought you to the StrengthsFinder movement, some of those kinds of things.
Sure. I think, what brought me to the StrengthsFinder movement was first break all the rules. I think it was about 2001 when I discovered it, and then just started immersing in pretty much every publication that Gallup put out after that point. And I always thought that it aligned with my values. I have positivity in my top 5, and so individualization and a lot of things that say, oh yeah, this strengths movement would make a lot of sense to me, finding what actually makes you at your best. So I started using it as a hack as a manager, I think in 2002. I just thought, I'm going to read the books and apply this stuff as much as I can, and the team's response was really out of this world. So I've stayed around it and have soaked things in here and there over time, but it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I went full bore and thought this could really be something I focused my entire business on. And I'm really glad that I did.
So what is the why of podcasting? Why are you doing this? I mean, you do a monthly show, and
I do monthly.
You interview folks. It's an interview show. What were you hoping to get out of it? What's the why?
So my why today is different from when I started. So when I started, it was to build a personal brand and to find my voice. So on the personal brand part, it was, all right, I've had career in learning and development and talent management and training, and so I have some ability to be known for those kind of things, but I've also dabbled in marketing and sales, and so I thought what I'm branded as today, how people know me, may not be what I want it to be for this business. So I got in it for that, to be able to have a platform, to have a recurring thing to be putting out to the world, to serve them in that space. And then the other in finding my voice was, I thought, this is the second time around I've had my own business, and I've kind of been back and forth doing training businesses and corporate, and I didn't know if I wanted to be business to business or business to consumer. So I actually started the podcast as career Q&A, and I had people call in their career questions, and it was my way to test whether I wanted to be a business to consumer business. So they did that, and as I was finding my voice and finding my flow, I realized, I think I want to be B2B. I think serving leaders and companies is a better move, and I shifted gears and went to a show targeted to managers. And so today it's different. Today the podcast purpose for me is to really be immersed in the topic and all the people around it to build those relationships, and then to serve my future customers. So started as one thing and has a different purpose today.
Yeah, I love to hear the story of the pivot because I think that's really important when you go into this, thinking that it doesn't have to be your first idea isn't always your best idea,
Hmm.
and sometimes the environment around you is not always suited for what you're trying to do. And so, as you work through it, when did you know, or how did you know it was to pivot? I mean, how did that come to you, and how did you sense it, and how did you do it?
Well, one thing that I sensed was, you know, people are thinking that I'm a career transition coach. And a lot of the career questions that people would ask would be about changing jobs. And that wasn't really the angle I wanted to take. I wanted it to be about developing your personal leadership or helping leaders be better managers and be better with their teams. And so I realized the questions people are naturally going to ask are not the things I want to live and breathe every day. And I think that's really important. You need to be really fired up about it because it's a lot of work to put these out, and so you should really enjoy them. So that was one area where I thought I'm not really enjoying answering the kinds of questions I'm getting, so I must not be attracting the exact audience I want to attract because they have different things on their mind.
Yeah, it's a lot like as we look through our top five. By the way, I didn't ask you what your top five are, so let's just take a break real quick. What are your top five?
They're strategic, maximizer, positivity, individualization, and woo.
Oh, I love the woo. I sense your positivity woo. That's a combo. That's 2 and 6. And so although positivity jams itself into number one a lot for me, as I think, oh, it'll be fine, we'll get through it, type deal. So I kind of sense that in your podcasting. Have you, as a style, as a podcaster, do you feel like you bring your top five into that when you're podcasting? And how are you using those superpowers of yours in the podcast world, or as you're in the broadcast world, let's say?
Yeah, totally. Strategic comes out because I think about how will this serve the audience and how will it serve me, and what's the fastest and best path to be able to put a product out I can use now, I can use in the future, that people will want, and so I'm always trying to make it do a bunch of things at once. Maximizer comes out like crazy when the first 10 episodes, I must have spent 12 hours editing. I didn't know how to do audio. I didn't know about things like called compressors and limiter gates and some of these things that I know about now that cut out your breath and your mouth clicks and noises and tricks like grabbing an apple, which I didn't do before this call. But there are lots of things that you learn that take the manual part out of it. So the maximizer in me was like, I cannot produce something that's crap. I have to make this better and better before I go out. So I still use that in thinking, how can I make the show better? How can I only give them the best parts of the interview? I do more cutting now to make sure that it's the hardest hitting parts that go out. Positivity comes out and the woo comes out, I think, just in the ability to switch over. I started as a solo show and I switched to an interview show because I like that dynamic of having somebody else on the line and being able to play off of them and feed off of fun. I even seek out sometimes guests that I know will be fun to play around with like that online. Because you're talking, I don't even have video. Most of the time it's like a still shot I'm looking at because it's audio only for my show. And then individualization is that I want every show to be unique to that person. I don't have a list of 10 questions that I ask every single audience every single month. Every show is different. Every show is going to dig into a different area. And so that really fuels me in just having your ears only. How can you make sure that you're finding those things that are unique about that person that you're interviewing?
Yeah, we were talking in a pre-show a little bit. I really do prefer the video because I can read body language and I can kind of understand what you're thinking and where you're going and transitioning, as well as typically we do it live. You don't do a live show, and we do it live to get audience feedback, and I thrive off that. I love the arranger in me wants to always have as many balls in the air, or as who said that to me the other day? Micah said to me the other day, arrangers like keeping ping pong balls underwater. That was another one, where you're trying to keep multiple ping pong balls underwater. So I enjoy that piece of it. But we've mentioned when we think of podcasting, and so just as a review for somebody listening, like, so what is this podcast? I mean, really, from a mechanical standpoint, it's really just time shifted or on-demand audio. Now, we can add video into that if you want to get fancy, but on-demand audio that's available to someone through multiple media devices, whether it be a phone or an iPod, although a lot of people aren't using iPods. The sense that that podcast, that name came from the iPod, which most people now are doing it off their phone. And the other power of a podcast is that you have an RSS feed that's available for it to automatically subscribe. Lisa, I was asking you before the show, hey, have you heard this? And you're like, oh, that dropped off my feed. And so there's an option to download that or stream it directly from your phone. And so it's a really powerful way as a coach to get into people's lives. It's a powerful way we use it. We use Called to Coach. We use this channel to speak into coaches' lives every single week. We want to be able to have that influence and that training and that stuff. And that also, you mentioned in the very beginning, gives you the opportunity to find your voice and be heard from that standpoint. Have there been, when we think about what it's done for your business, what's the value? I mean, have you seen some real tangible value for this? I think that's probably the number one question I get from people is like, okay, so great, you're on a mic and you're making stuff, but does it have any value?
Yeah. I mean, I can give you two tangible ones that have happened and are beginning to happen more and more regularly over time. I'm almost 2 years in now, I guess a couple months shy, 2 years in, and I do this atypical, by the way, for anyone listening. Putting out one only once per month is painfully slow. I'd say the most common frequency you see is weekly, and some people even do daily, and I felt a lot of pressure to do that because it seemed like a weenie move to only do once a month.
Daily is tough. It is hard. Even 5 minutes, because the back-end processing is such the same procedure, whether it's 5 minutes or 50 minutes.
Yeah.
It gets hard. So keep going. Sorry.
So it took a while to get the traction I think that some people get faster when they put out more episodes, but I just wanted to go for the long view and be consistently doing this. So now what has happened on the other side? I have I'll give you a little statistic. They probably don't matter in for people who don't do podcasts yet. I get about 1,100 to 1,300 listeners per episode, and you could go out and kind of play a social media game and get more if you wanted to force it. But for me, the way they've grown organically, I have really loyal listeners. That's a lot of people that I know I wouldn't reach otherwise. So number one is I just have a set of relationships with people that I wouldn't have otherwise. And once in a while I get a note from a stranger, oh my gosh, you changed my work life today. I have a different relationship with my manager because of a conversation I had from hearing something on your show. So one, there's a fuel where you think, I'm actually serving people. It's a very close relationship. People are in your earbuds. They feel like they know you. And so one, there's that. There's like a relationship feedback thing. Another relationship result from it is, boy, the number of people I've met, amazing leaders and managers I've interviewed, experts and authors who have books that I enjoy. Now I'm giving them a megaphone so they can get their message out, so it's mutually beneficial. That's been really fun. Business results, to get to more financial business results to your question. I had one person that I met through this venue referred me to deliver a speech that I'm booked out now. It's going to be delivered a year from now, but I have one on the books in multiple thousands of dollars that will, hit my financials because of a relationship that started through podcasting, and they referred me to somebody. And I also get prospects now via email that come through my form, on my contact form on my website, and I never got those at the beginning because how would anyone ever discover me? Search engine optimization didn't matter in the first month of being in business because you don't have any content out there, no reason to get indexed, and so this gives you a regular piece of content to start showing up in people's worlds, and then I'm starting to get a lot of inquiries about, it's usually the typical stuff when they don't know you. How much would it cost to do a training, and what would this look like, and how do services come into play? But real people asking real questions about how I could serve their business. And without the podcast, if I didn't replace that with a blog or some other way to build a platform, I wouldn't have met those people.
Yeah, in the beauty of a podcast is you can kind of blend both a blog and audio content together. It
Yeah.
is what allows you to get really great SEO on the web, and so you create these blog posts. We create these blog posts around these pieces of audio and video content. We make them available both ways. So however people want to consume it, my goal is to get it in any form, that people, whether audio or video or low grade, high grade, they can get that available to them and then consume it wherever. We say all the time, listen to it in the car, on a train, or in a plane, because
Yeah.
those are times to recapture that training. 1,100 is really a good number, by the way, when we think about, you say, on a per episode basis. The average podcaster is 197 or something like that, around this,
Hmm.
less than 200. And even that, right? If you had a podcast with 200, think about having the influence over 200 people every single week. That can
Hmm.
be powerful. And there's places where that niche is appropriate. And some of my tech friends who have these tech podcasts, their tech podcasts reach tens of thousands of people, but they're general tech, right? You would expect kind of that to be able to do that. We think a StrengthsFinder or maybe even management, some of those things, you begin to get really nichey, right? Or nichey, if however you want to pronounce that. And it gets harder and harder. What are kind of barriers, or what are you doing to grow when we think about that number? What are you doing to grow, and what kind of techniques do you use to help get the word out?
Hmm. To be honest, I really haven't done much to grow. I've done about the same thing from the beginning. A lot of it has happened organically. I do use Buffer, and that's a social media tool, and I'll put a podcast episode into the interwebs. Say, I'll just make it simple for anybody who hasn't done this yet. I post the episode out there so that it's hosted somewhere, and then I take that link and I'll put it in Buffer that it goes out to my LinkedIn, my Twitter, and sometimes a business Facebook area. And then I'll do that where that episode will show up once a month or once a quarter, depending on what the episode's about, so that it gets out. I'll say I do think that interview shows helped spread the word more than when I started as a solo show, because when you copy in, let's say you're posting something on Twitter with the person that you interviewed and you have their handle in it, then they tweet it and they post it to their audience, then you're getting a little more juice out there where it's getting shared with more people because they're sharing it with their audience, you're sharing it with your audience, and sometimes that helps discover more people. So I'm finally in a place where I hired somebody to be on my team part-time so that I can focus more on actually growing it, potentially freeing up the time for me so that I can do a more frequent show, because I would love to do a weekly one. I really enjoy the interviews, and I think I can bring a lot more value and meet a mentor corporate leader and have all sorts of win-win-wins going on. And so then I feel like growing it will become more and more simple because they're going to be sharing it with their audiences.
Yeah, and growing podcast is just like growing anything else. It just takes time, effort, and hustle, and
Yeah.
sometimes a little bit of money. That's the other thing that people don't. There is a little bit of money involved. There's always challenges. We're having one right now because I'm getting a little audio digitalization from you.
Oh.
So, Lisa, I'm going to have you go up, and Roy, don't edit this out. I want to see how easy this is. So we're in Hangouts. Go up to the top in the toolbar, and you'll find that bandwidth toolbar. Just push your bandwidth down a little bit to maybe medium so that we get less. I think it's middle of the day here at Gallup, and I might be extending the bandwidth pipes here on campus. And so if you drop that down, were you able to do that to medium?
Not yet.
Okay. You
I
see?
don't have a lot. I'm not finding the bar.
Oh, so just take your mouse up to the top of the screen up here, and a
Mm-hmm.
black toolbar will appear, and then there's a bandwidth meter.
Oh, I thought it was a Wi-Fi signal.
No, that's actually a bandwidth meter. Isn't that funny? And then just drop it down a notch.
Okay.
And that will send less video to me, and hopefully that'll improve our audio a little bit. We have, just as an example, about 90% of our downloads here at Gallup are audio only, and so we find a lot of folks consume the audio only version of it. Because it's the most convenient way. Can't really watch the video in your car. You shouldn't be, anyways. Although when you're traveling on a train or in a plane, it is nice to see the video, although that takes up more space on people's phones. And so we just find a lot of people download our audio only. If you are going to do video, my recommendation is you do both. make it available, make a video. We use YouTube, and actually, for my tech podcast, we have a YouTube version because I think YouTube is a powerful. Do you push anything, Lisa? Do you push anything to YouTube?
No.
Okay. It is a powerful venue when we think about it. It's where people are watching things on the web, and so we push this video will go to YouTube. On my tech side, the tech podcast that I do, I actually make a video large and a video small. So I crunch it down a little bit so that for bandwidth purposes and for storage purposes, for the people who want it, they can get it, and they get it either version, a larger version for PC or a smaller version for their phone. Then we always push an audio version out. That's the one probably you focus the most on is your audio feed. Who are you, when we think about a host provider, right? Because there's a couple things you need to have. You need to have a website to host this on, right? And then you have to have a media provider to kind of host these MP3 files for people to get them. Who are you using for a website, and how are you doing your media?
Mm-hmm. So for the actual audio files, I use Libsyn. I'd say that's probably the most prevalent out there.
Most popular. Blueberry would be without the E's, B-L-U-B-R-R-Y. Libsyn, L-Y-B-S-O, no, L-I-B-S-Y-N, L-I-B-U-S-Y, and I always have to think about that one. Stands for Liberated Syndication is what that stands for, but those are probably the two most popular, Spreaker being number, and that's what we use here at Gallup is Spreaker. They would be another one you could use. But
and
so
some people just use SoundCloud, and they get a pro account.
Yeah, you could. That works as well. SoundCloud has had a few issues with podcasting as of late. I've been kind of steering folks away from it. They have a really cool, sexy player, but I've been steering folks away. So that's who you're using for media. That's hosting your files. How are you hosting it on the website?
Now, so my website is built on a WordPress platform. And so for those who are listening, when Jim was talking about how it's kind of like a blog and a audio in one, if you hear the terminology show notes, people are really just referring to a blog post that is writing about what the show's about. So my show notes I put in there as a post, and then there is a plugin by Blueberry, however you say it,
Yep,
Blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
And then it lets you pull in a player and link to your media, even if you're not hosting with them. Even though I host with Libsyn, I use I prefer their plugin over Libsyn's plugin. Anyway, so I pull it in that way, and then Libsyn has some embed codes that you can go on the back end and make it look nice, where it takes your episode art and serves it up so that it looks more visual. So I have a player at the top from Blueberry. Then I have the show notes that are like written blog post style. For those of you who have ever written anything, it's just, a blog post. And then I use a Libsyn player at the bottom. Visually, it gives them a little, image with a player built into it.
Yeah, now you just scared a lot of, all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, they were on for podcasting, and then you started saying all these things. One of the things I want to encourage people in is this is kind of a step-by-step process, and so I think we say this a lot in the podcasting space is first just practice talking on a mic and picking up. We use let's talk about hardware real quick.
Yeah.
Since we're doing that. The mic we use here for Gallup in the studios for all our guests is an Audio-Technica ATR 2100. And those are available just about anywhere in the world. If they're not, Samsung, not Samsung, but SAMSON makes a Q2U. That's a duplicate of this with USB out the back. Those are great mics, and if you have any questions, you can just contact me. I can help you with it. Lisa, you're not using an ATR 2100. What do you have in front of you there?
That's right. And for everybody, that is probably the most popular one out
Super
there.
simple. Yeah.
Okay. I actually detached it from my little studio, so I'll show you three different mic things.
Perfect.
When I started, and I just wanted to experiment and wanted please don't use your onboard on your laptop. It'll sound like poop.
Yes.
So,
correct.
So the very first one I got was this blue snowball. I think they're like $70, something like that. I don't know if it looks like it's Moray is making it look funny, but anyway, that's
yeah.
Okay, so that's a USB mic, and so if you're afraid of having the SLR, which is like the musician plug-in cable. Then this is a USB mic that is approachable for people, and I felt like it had really good sound. I have this thing, I can send a picture. When I started, I had this, and you can just get the vision in your head. My house is really echoey, and you might be able to hear that right now because I'm out in a very tall ceiling house. And the sound to publish that, I thought, I don't really like that. Now I have to come out here for video because I don't fit in my sound booth with video. But I didn't like that, so I created this little thing where I have a milk crate, and then I put acoustic foam that I bought at a music store, and then I put this guy inside of that milk crate, and it deadened all of it, and it sounded pretty fantastic for a little USB mic.
Yeah, and those, let me just talk, those are, they have a compressor or a condenser, sorry. They have a condenser in them. They'll pick up everything, and so for musicians or you want really good sound, that's going to do it. 2100 has a dynamic recorder in it, and it will, the field is much smaller, so even if because sometimes there's tile floors right out beside me, and sometimes the janitors, not sometimes, they sense when I'm doing a webcast, and they've got those rolling garbage cans, and I swear they just come out of the elevator and then they just roll them over the floor side by side for like 20 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing out there? This won't pick up that because the field is so much smaller as opposed to the blue snowball that you have there. The 2100s are actually cheaper than the snowball, so you can get those for
cool.
Yeah, you can get them for $50 now on Amazon. So that's a great way to start. USB and XLR, what you mentioned before, the XLR goes into a mixer. So if you ever wanted to upgrade,
that's XLR.
That's the XLR. That's what you'd see a musician. Here, let me. Yeah. You would see that in professional musical settings, and don't be intimidated by it. It just goes into a mixer, and so
exactly. That's what I use now.
Yep. And so, what is that?
This one's the Shure, and Shure, if you're not a music person, is SHURE, SM7B.
Mm-hmm.
So,
real popular mic, real popular one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I also play drums a little bit, and so when I was buying this, I was trying to combine like what could I use on there and sound really good broadcast quality. So this one's turned out to be really great. I love this one. It's the one I use today, and and
it's a great studio mic. If you have a quiet studio, that's a great mic to have in a studio.
Yeah, and that's what I have. I converted a closet in a guest room. Okay, it's like the arm, probably whatever my wingspan is, it's probably a 5-foot wide closet. And I foamed it out with acoustic foam, and I have all the gear, the mixer, and all that stuff in there. And then I just go in there, and when I close the door, there are no echoes, there are no sounds, everything is deadened and beautiful, and it sounds kind of strange, like I'm hiding in a closet, but literally when you're starting, if you want to test this out, if you can go in with your setup, even if it's just a USB mic plugged into your laptop, and you go stand in your closet with clothes hanging in it, it will sound better because it deadens the sound.
It does. And a standard bedroom that has, a bed in it and some other stuff, if the ceilings are standard height, that'll sometimes work too. The key, you said this earlier, the key is just to get started, right? This is a skill, this is a craft that takes a little bit of practice. And before we've talked, we didn't go in the interview with Andy and Grace, we did not go as in depth on equipment, so I'm kind of glad we're doing this. Just to talk a little bit about it, but I don't want people to be intimidated by the equipment. It really is a $50 microphone attached via USB to your laptop or your Mac. Yep. And boom, you're in. You can get online. There's a variety of places. There's a new one called blab.im. I don't know, Lisa, if you've seen that out there, where you can connect and talk to people and record it, and it does everything for you. And when you're done, you can export it out, and bam, you have the beginnings of a podcast at that point. But I would encourage, if you've never done this before, just start trying it. Right? Just start talking to people online. Have conversations just like this. Maybe you don't want to record them, but you get used to speaking this way, especially hearing your own voice. Did you find that difficult? Because a lot of podcasters say, "Oh, I can't stand the sound of my voice." Did you have that problem in the beginning?
Yeah, it was pretty weird at first, and now I'm totally used to it. It's nothing. It doesn't even register any longer. So I feel like that's a practice thing. And you also record yourself. Use your activator or whatever you have that would make you go and maybe even just take your top 5 and do one episode that is 1 or 2 minutes long about how you use it every day, just to have something you're comfortable talking about that you can record, and then listen to yourself, because you hear, what are your breathing patterns? What are your mouth noises you don't like? What are your verbal tics that you didn't know you have? What are your filler words that you use? And those kinds of things that you can begin to practice over time so that you don't feel like you have to edit them out. Some people leave them in all the time. My maximizer won't let me. I can't stand it. So I find what those things are, and I find new ones all the time. A year and a half later, I discovered this click noise that I make that I swear I didn't make before. Maybe I did, or maybe I couldn't register it, because you just pick up more and more nuance over time. So get started, listen to yourself, and then it will inform you a lot. And I also think step 0 is go become a fan of podcasts. If you're not listening, you probably are listening to this one as a podcast, but you might be used to seeing this one live and you're not a big consumer of podcasts otherwise. Go out there and find one that relates to your hobbies, one that relates to subject matter you're interested in. Any keyword, you're going to find a podcast. And then even some that you just listen to the production qualities and find the things that you like. It has informed me a lot and how I've taken my show, because I want a show that I would be willing to listen to. So everything from the duration to how I do intros to how I produce it, whether I had bumpers on the front end with a person introducing me, having a voiceover talent on the front and the back. I started with that, and then at the end I ditched it. Now I don't do those anymore. And just listening to what you like so you can make a show that reflects you, who you are naturally, and then brings out the best in you, and then also reflects a show that you would actually want to listen to.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice, by the way. Everything you said there, you should just back up and listen to it again, because all that stuff is really, really important. At the end of the day, this is just another tool. And Lisa, have you written a book at all? Have you gone through that process of writing a book? Have you done that yet?
I am in process.
Okay, so this is a perfect question for you then. How much is podcasting like writing a book? When we think, because a lot of coaches in this space go, oh, I got to get a book out. How much would getting a podcast out compare to that book when we think about exposure and when we think about getting your, finding your voice and getting credibility in the community? Can you relate those two?
Mm-hmm. I still think as a speaker, if you want to be a keynote speaker type, for whatever reason, there's a book thing that people like to see that. Now, that would be the benefit to book. Podcasting, on the other hand, where I think it opens even more doors than a book, is getting in front of your future audience. If you don't like feeling salesy and you don't like feeling like you're always pitching somebody something, a podcast is a total way to genuinely serve the people you want to reach. You could use it to find your voice and just explore and become a deep subject matter expert. Maybe you just want to feed your learner and you want to dive in. But even then, the podcast gives you access to experts in that area, people that you want to meet, because they love to be interviewed. So I think that it's better than a book in one way, and that is it helps you reach people by serving them, and it helps you connect with those. Like if I wanted to go interview a bunch of CEOs of companies or SVPs of whatever field, because those are my target customers, if I notice something great about the work they're doing and I reach out to them and say, oh, I love the work you're doing in this area and I'd love to give voice to it so you can get that message out to the world and get you on my show, and they're like, oh, cool, I could be on a show? Sure. Versus imagine calling them, pitching them something. It's a totally different dynamic. They come in open-hearted, they are into it, they don't feel like you're trying to sell them something, and then you start to build a relationship. It's a longer tail thing than people who just want to, push in sales, but I'm guessing that's not the tone that people who are in our crowd are anyway, and this feels like a really nice way. So in that way, podcasting wins over book.
Interesting. All right, I like that. I think both are a discipline we should all embark on, by the way. It's one of those things, whether it's a pamphlet or a full book or you get it in print, whatever that takes, from a podcast perspective, I think it's also something you should do to get used to being in front of people and in front of the media. That's one of these kinds of things where camera presence and all those pieces, all those little disciplines, this just gives you some practice. You've gone on a journey And I'd encourage others to go on that same journey of working through this, not seeing it as the end, but as a journey to the end. I just, and it's not for everybody. There are some folks who just don't want to do this, and it's okay if you don't want to do it. If you got to this part and you're like, no, Jim, you have not convinced me, it's okay. There will be others that will, and so we're excited if you want to pick that up and do this. We'd be excited to help you get it started. Lisa, one last question before I kind of let you go. What kind of advice, if you for the first? So I've never done this before, and I'm just thinking about it. And the advice can't be just get started. We've already said that a couple times. But if there was one major pitfall or one thing you should watch out for in this, something that would derail you, what do you think that is, and what should they watch for if they or expect if they were to start doing something like this?
So if you take the step 0 that I mentioned, which is go out there and listen to podcasts, you might expect yourself to be that good when you start. So that's one thing, is the expectation you have of yourself. And then along those lines, when you're watching other people, kind of like any craft, you start to mimic the people that you admire. And then after you give it enough time to marinate, you start to become you, more fully expressed as you get the practice. Whether or not you publish your practice is your choice. If you're the type who is uncomfortable with the iffiness, go interview your sister and get started in ways like that where you get comfortable with it, or friends. So whether they go public or not doesn't matter, but let yourself have that journey of figuring it out, finding your voice, getting good enough that you feel great putting this out to the world, and then being okay with the fact that, yeah, you might be mimicking a little bit when you start, and then as you really find your flow, you start to feel you coming out. I didn't feel that until at least maybe 10, 15 episodes in. I thought, okay, I get it. Now I feel at ease. I know how to bring things out in people. I have better questions. I feel like I can be me. I can bring the feelings, because when you're going on ears only, you better feel what you're talking about. Otherwise, people are snoozing on you. So how do you bring, you all the way? Even standing up, there's a tip. I always stand up, because for me, my energy is sucked when I'm sitting down. So I'm standing up now. I stand up when I record, and that helps me. So you'll find those things that also help you as you just get the practice.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I also want to say, I'll add to this, do something different. Like, we do an interview show. That's kind of how I got started. I like that genre. That works for me. But I think this podcasting space is ripe for some really new, different kinds of content, especially around coaching when we think about that. So you've got something buried inside of you, and we won't get it out until you try. And so there might be a whole different genre where that's kind of a solo cast with some skits, or there might be some really interesting things in there that nobody's done. NPR is doing a storytelling podcast. That's what they're doing right now, and they're doing a great job of it. And I know there's some talent out there, some folks that could do that. And Solomon said 2,500 years ago, King Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun, right? And I don't think that's changed in 2,500 years. There's not a lot left, so you're going to end up copying or mimicking, like you were saying. But do it with a flair, do it with a flash, do it for you. That would make you unique in the sense, in that sense. And so I'll echo that advice and say, yeah, just be you. Get some things started and get going and get something done. Lisa, if folks had questions about the mechanics or anything that you talked about, would you be open to fielding those if they sent you an email or something like that? Would that be okay?
Yeah, totally. Email me at lisa@leadthroughstrengths.com. I'll tell you, I am not a gearhead. If I said some things that are over your head and you think, oh, now I know some things, and I'll tell you where my limits are, so I can tell you some basics. But if you come in and say, I want to set up my audio chain and go from my preamp into my mixer into my whatever, I'll say, I remember when I couldn't get any sound when I was doing that. So I'll be horrible there, but I can tell you that the individual piece parts, not how they all go together. But I would be happy to share things like my workflow and all the steps that are involved, because you probably heard lots of bits today, episode art and tagging, and there are show notes, and there are a million pieces. So happy to share what those are. Ideate if you have different concepts for shows. So yes, I'm happy to help. I also have there are lots of podcasts on starting a podcast. So getting a little bit meta, that would be a great place too. Go keyword search the word podcast and listen to a few of those shows on how to get started. So yeah, happy to help. Reach out.
I appreciate that. And I wish I knew somebody who did a Saturday morning show called Ask the Podcast Coach. That's something we don't talk a lot about on the Gallup side, but every Saturday morning, 9:30, 10:30 Eastern, I'm on with a podcast coach. His name is Dave Jackson, and we do a show called Ask the Podcast Coach, and it's a chance for people to jump in and ask their podcast questions. And so I'm willing to help you. You guys know I'll help you from that standpoint as well. So if you're thinking about doing this and getting started, Dave Jackson runs a school of podcasting, which has some help and some videos and tutorials to get you started. It's a little bit of work. I'm going to say that up front. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And we'd love to have you jump in there. Lisa, one more thing you want to add?
Oh, you've just got me to think about, people will be curious, what does this take? How long does it take you for each episode?
Yeah, how long does it take me to do that? It's a 6-to-1 ratio. So every minute, there's either 6 minutes of preparation, recording, or post-production. For me, that's kind of the way it works. So if I do an hour, there's about 6 hours worth of work to get it done. I think you can get that down to a 1-to-3 ratio, but I would say that's pretty conservative. What do you think? What's your production flow?
Yeah, totally the same. Yeah, I'm at 5 hours for 1 hour show, and I started at 12. It started really long because I couldn't stand what I was putting out, and I didn't know how to use the software and all those things. But
don't be daunted by that. That's just when you get into it, you'll start really liking it, right? If you hate it, stop doing it. If you start doing this, you're like, oh, I don't like doing this. I give it 6 hours. Now I have at Gallup, I have folks that help me do that, so it's not all me. When I do my own tech podcast, that's all me. And I spend less time editing and more time promoting than you, so that's how we're different.
That's how you're smarter right now.
I don't know. I don't know. I think really good quality attracts subscribers. And my lack of quality, even though I do all this promotion, my lack of quality might keep some of those away. I don't edit anything. I'm a one-take wonder. I record it, I slice off the ends, put a little music on it, and bam, we throw that thing out there. And then I spend 3 hours promoting it on Twitter and on Facebook and on StumbleUpon and in Reddit.
So smart.
And I do all these different things. Well, but I might be missing people who listen to it and go, oh man, that's crap.
Oh, could be.
So the key is go with what you want to do. This is what's really important. Do what you want to do and come up with a new genre for us. And
that'd be a good thread.
Yeah. Well, if you have any questions, again, you can contact Lisa, contact me. Lisa, thanks again for, I'll close this out here, but thanks again for coming on and talking about podcasting. And we're excited to see a few more podcasts come out of this Spotlight series, so thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jim.
I'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center. Just gallupstrengthcenter.com. Send us your questions or comments. Speaking of bloggers, we do look for guest bloggers here on the Coach's blog, and if you're thinking about writing and you haven't done that or you got some great blog ideas you want to get to us to see if we can take those, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, put guest blogger in the subject line, and we will get you back. We'll contact you back and see what we can do. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of all this. In fact, if you just want to see a good example of how this is done, first go over and check out what Lisa's doing over on her site. Hey, what's the easiest way? What's the best site for them to go to if they want to check out your podcast?
Find your player that you use and keyword search it, because then it's going to be where you are. But if you go to my website, leadthroughstrengths.com, there's a podcast link very prominent right there for you to check it out.
Perfect. And we do the same thing at Gallup. If you go to coaching.gallup.com/subscribe is the way I've made it to allow you to subscribe to any of these things. So we try to make it easier for our listeners to consume our content. We also want to remind you that we now have StrengthsFinder apps for you, both Android and iOS. Just search StrengthsFinder in any one of those stores, either the Google Store or the Apple Store, and you can get those for free. All right, we want to thank everyone for joining us today. We'll look forward to the next Strength Spotlight. Lisa, thanks again. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.